Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Allison, LaForgia, managing editor of HousingWire's content studio, and I am with CEO and Executive Chairman Joe Steffa from Spring EQ. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
So you were recently appointed CEO of Spring EQ. Talk to me a little bit about your vision for the future of the company.
Vision starts really with the homeowner and thinking about what the homeowner needs today and for ways to them continue to tap into the equity that they have in their homes. Home equity has been on the rise, volumes have been on the rise, and if we continue to meet the homeowner on their journey, wherever they are, we feel like we'll continue to be successful. We also need to think about who our customer is. The customer might just be an individual, but for us at Spring EQ, the customer might also be a broker partner or a third-party vendor that we work with as well. So we want to make sure that we're prepared to meet all of those different constituents at the right part of their journey.
You just mentioned that there's been an increase over the past decade of people who are exploring their home equity options. Talk to me a little bit about why you think that we're seeing that trend and why people are choosing to explore their home equity options.
It's a good question. If you think about the rise in home equity in our country since January of 2020, you're seeing home prices up nationally somewhere around 50%. So you have three main reasons that our borrowers cite when they're taking out a home equity loan. One, debt consolidation. Two, replenishing savings. And three, the most commonly cited reason that we see is home improvement. The average age of our homes in our country is around 40 years old. So as you think about the lock-in effect that was created because of the low interest rate environment during COVID, partnering that with the fact that people are sitting on all this cash that's trapped in their homes, are starting to use some of that cash to do the home improvement that they did, whether it be renovating a kitchen, thinking about doing their basement over, work on the outside of their house. All of those reasons are the main ones that they come to when they cite why they're taking out the home equity lines of credit today versus what it was years ago.
So we've mentioned that home equity is in a really strong position. There's that increased trend in people wanting to use their home equity. So let's tie in Spring EQ here.
Sure.
What's on the horizon for Spring EQ and what does your growth plan look like?
Good question. Where you're seeing today for Spring EQ and where we're going, hopefully are aligned. What I like about Spring EQ right now is we are set up for continued success based upon home equity because of the many reasons we just talked about and the growth of the possibilities in home equity. But what I would say is we also have expansion. So to answer your question more succinctly, we're currently thinking about more of the same. How do we grow volumes from $1.7 billion in 2023 to $3 billion last year to $4 billion of Spring EQ volumes this year to what's going to be $5 to $5.5 billion of home equity volumes within Spring EQ. And also on top of that, we're going to be looking at product expansion. We just started piloting our non-QM program, in particular DSCR, very popular, very common. You think about some of the growth that you could see from there. And then Q1 of 2026, I think we're going to be rolling out a bank statement program. We're excited about that. When you think about the growth potential, non-QM is predicted to be somewhere between $75 and $85 billion of originations next year. We're already a top 3 player in the IMBs for home equity. Now, as we expand into non-QM, how do we become a top 3 player there as well? And if we can become a top 3 player in non-QM, in addition to what we're doing in home equity currently, then I think you're looking at a $10 billion plus a year originator.
It sounds like there's some impressive growth in the works, but I want to touch on something that you just mentioned about being a top 3 player in the home equity space. Talk to me a little bit about the misconceptions, because I think there are many when it comes to home equity. And as a leader in that area, I would love to hear your perspective.
There are definitely misconceptions. One is you don't need perfect credit to take out a home equity line of credit or a closed-end second mortgage. We go down to as low as 640 FICO. We go up to 90 LTV, so we have a fairly wide, expansive credit box. And many of our peers do as well, but we make sure that we cover a large part of the customers in the country. In addition to that, there are more and more people tapping into their home equity for a variety of reasons that we already discussed. You don't need a scenario where the borrowers necessarily need the money. It might just be that it's a nice to have. Historically, people thought of HELOCs as an emergency fund. Now, talk about home improvement. Now they're using it to actually improve the value of their homes, which at some point, maybe interest rates are lower, maybe they're moving, maybe that lock-in effect alleviates a little bit, and as such, they've improved the value of the homes and they're going to be able to extract that equity or get it back out. I think that's why you've seen a real rise in the use of home equity, because now you're able to get something back for it, versus if you look at what happened during the 2008 crisis, you saw homes that were significantly underwater and people were giving back their keys. Today, very much different value proposition. We're entering at a much lower LTV standpoint, so you have a lot of equity built up in these homes, and that we as lenders feel comfortable and the borrowers also feel comfortable.
So you just mentioned that shift in why borrowers are tapping into their home equity, or an expansion of the usage of it. Talk to me a little bit about what you would say to somebody who's interested in getting a home equity loan or a HELOC.
Do your research, right? Think about all the different borrowers that are out there. Spring EQ was started in 2016, doing home equity then. We were way early to the party. Mm-hmm. But now, as you've seen the rise, and many banks returning to that, to the products as well, how can you do your proper research to make sure, okay, am I working with a bank partner? Am I working with an IMB? What are my needs? Do I need to fund quickly? Do I feel comfortable with the underwriting that they're doing? So I think you need to do your research on your various lenders that are available to you out there. And there are plenty of resources to be able to do so. The other thing I would tell you, Allison, is to partner with someone like Spring EQ, because we are a Better Business Bureau A+ rated company that has been serving over 120,000 customers at this point and funded over $11.5 billion in origination since our inception on home equity alone. So if you think about those numbers, they're pretty staggering.
Very impressive numbers, and congratulations on those numbers. That is an impressive feat. So I have to ask you, with the success that you've had, the growth plans that you have in place for the future, how do you see the next few years playing out in the second mortgage space?
Good question. Second mortgage space, I think, even in a down interest rate cycle, still provides plenty of home equity to be done. For example, there is a little over $5 trillion of agency mortgages alone trapped in Fannie and Freddie loans, okay, in a 3 3/4 coupon or less. So even in rates down 100 from here we are today, if you think about the Fed forward path, you still have significant equity trapped in those. So I think home equity volumes, now they're somewhere around $250 billion between HELOCs, closed-end, et cetera, I think can continue to rise even in a potentially down interest rate cycle, or in a scenario where we stay where we are today. So I feel good about the continued growth of home equity. I think there's also more and more lenders that are getting into the space, and borrowers are becoming more comfortable with it. Home equity, second mortgages used to be a little bit of a dirty word. A lot of that has been alleviated over the past few years, and the legitimization via some of the banks returning to the space, or many of the independent mortgage banks that are continuing to offer more expansive products.
Joe, thank you so much for taking us through what's going on with Spring EQ and the plans that you have for the future of the company. I think that it's a very exciting space. It sounds like there's some new things coming, and that we'll hear more from you soon.
We're excited. Thank you for taking the time. I think the growth opportunities are there, and we just have to go out and achieve them now.
Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Allison.